when you can meet, quote unquote, meet face to face is always better than audio and definitely better than text.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Most, if not all of us, are working from home these days, and the question comes, if you've got a bigger office, you've got appraisers and staff and virtual assistants spread throughout the world, can you remain close-knit as a company? Can I answer that question? My answer might be surprising to you, actually. When we get back from a quick break, I want to pause here and remind you that we're sponsored by the great ANow software. I say the great ANow software because it leads the industry in report management and business management software. Check them out. Go to anow.com. That's ANOW.com. All right, folks, I get the question frequently. Dustin, we used to be an office of, 10 people, and we all kind of, worked in the same environment. We might have our little private offices, but, the address was all the same, right? We all came to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we've all been there. Most of us have been there, right? And some of us have never had an outside office, but it's kind of a cool environment. It really is. I kind of long for those days sometimes when I think back and think, it's kind of cool to sit there and be typing up a report and, hey, John, what do you think of this adjustment? Or, hey, I got a weird one. I got an ADU and it's not really legal, but that's what they're using it for. Or, what would you do in this? Those kind of questions were fun to bounce off of people. I found that training was probably better because I could sit there and listen to my CSR on the phone and go, ooh, yeah, I probably wouldn't say that, or even turn around and whisper something to them to give them an answer that they were struggling with. That kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. We currently have about 27 people. I think we let somebody go last week. I think we're at 26 people right now in our office. That's a lot of people. And in every single case, other than my daughter happens to be home from school right now, and she's working as a customer service rep, and she happens to be a couple of rooms over from me right now. Other than that, we all work in our own little space. I guess we've got another partnership that works together as well. But for the most part, folks, everybody is working from their own little offices and their own little bedrooms and their own little homes, wherever in the world that they might be. So the question is, how do you keep those people happy? How do you keep them? How do you keep the camaraderie high? How do you keep it feeling like they're part of a team, that they're part of an office, that they're part of a group? How do you keep the positivity up and going in your appraisal business? Again, I'm going to give you the answer to that, and it's going to surprise you, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I've teased it enough that you figured out what my answer is. But I want to pause here and remind you, before I give you that answer, of a great company called ANow Software. ANow, of course, is something that I've been using in my business for, 4 or 5 years now. It was a hard sell for me to move over from my spreadsheet. Folks, that's what I was using before, my spreadsheet, to something that was much more robust. And folks, I tell you, I haven't looked back. It is an amazing program that will tell you at the push of a button, maybe two, right? Exactly where you are with your numbers, or exactly where you are with your orders. One of the things that we do is we sort by filters. Everybody has their role. And let's say that Giselle's role is to do research on properties that come in. Okay. What she can do is she can go in and she can sort all open orders by research. Here's the ones that need to do research. And she can even filter them further by saying, these are the ones that are due first and these are the ones that are due last. And they sort them in chronological order. So she can start working through those on a step-by-step basis and make sure that we never have late reports again. It's just one of the things that ANow software can do for you. They can do so much more. Check them out. Go to anow.com. That's ANOW.com. All right, I want to welcome you back to the program. No more teasing. We're going to get there. The answer is, Dustin, how do you keep the camaraderie high in an office that's spread out across the world? And here's my answer. Ready? But you can't. I know that's the most depressing thing that you want to hear today, right? How do you keep the camaraderie as high as it was in the past when you're in an office together versus when you are spread out across the world? And I have come to the conclusion, folks, that you cannot. Now, that does not mean that you give up. That does not mean that you're all going to hate each other. That does not mean that this is going to be turmoil and trial. This means that there is a difference between being in the same office and feeling the same energy with one another and being spread out. I will give you a perfect example. I have currently 7 mastermind groups. They are located across the nation. There's one in Washington, D.C. There's one in Chicago. There's one in Nashville. There's one in Dallas. There's 2 in Salt Lake, but we'll just call them 1 for sakes here. And there's one in L.A. Which one did I miss? I also have an online version of the mastermind group. Now, for those that can't or won't travel, or it's just not possible to make it every quarter to one of these meetings, I highly recommend that you be a part of the online group. But let's just be honest. Even the people in the online group, especially ones that have experienced the in-person group, will tell you there is a big difference between the online group and the in-person group. Why? Because there's a difference between being on a Zoom call and being in the same room with somebody where you can, I'm a hugger, by the way. You come in, I'm going to shake your hand, I'm going to give you a hug, I'm going to welcome you. We're going to go out to lunch together. We're going to go out to dinner the night before. We're going to be, in the hallways at the breaks talking about different things. There is a difference, and you know this, right? If you've even gone to appraisal classes, you know that there's a difference between an online class and being there in person to rub shoulders with other appraisers. It's a totally different, and I would say better experience. So to answer your question, how can you keep the love alive, if you will, across the nation when you're meeting over Zoom versus when you're in person? The answer is you can't. I just don't think it's the same experience. Now, again, I don't think that means you give up. In fact, I would highly recommend that you don't. There's a couple ideas that I'm going to give you here that I hope will be helpful to you. First of all, communicate. Have a system to communicate. We use Slack in our office, and we have different channels. I'm looking at the channels now. One is called Appraisal Talk. Another one's called Appraiser Reviewers, Client Management, General, Internal Idaho Chat, random staff living in Idaho, snow and ski and board bums. Okay. We've got other things as well. We got one called You Are Awesome, where we just do shout outs to people. Folks, being able and doing and being proactive about communication is absolutely key. The other thing I would say is when you can meet, quote unquote, meet face to face is always better than audio and definitely better than text. Okay. I've been using BombBomb videos quite a bit lately where I just record a short video. Hey, here's what's going on. I just did one just a few minutes ago before I got on here. It was called Turn Times. And I just, for about 7 minutes, I got on there and just said, hey, here's why turn times are so important right now, everybody. Here's what's going on. Here's why we need to keep them up. Here's the struggles that we're dealing with. Let's work together to keep those turn times up, right? And that was a video, not an audio, not a text. That way they see my face, they see my emotion. Now, it's not going to be the same as being in person, but folks, please, if you are spread out across the nation, which most of us are at this point, we're all working from home, take the time to be as encouraging and close-knit with your company, with your group as possible. It makes all the difference in your productivity.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.